This video will give an overview of some of the most important and easily confused facets of biology. Essentially, the human brain thrives on categorization. To understand the world around us, we group things into smaller categories, and particularly in biology, these groupings and the way they are determined are a large part of understanding our surroundings. If you are enrolled in EFB 326, Plant Evolution, Diversification, and Conservation, and are watching this video, please know that every part of this overview of biological systematics will continue to be relevant throughout the semester and the rest of your scientific career. On that note, let's begin by making an important distinction. Phylogeny and classification are not the same thing. This may sound like a matter of mere semantics, but at its core, phylogeny addresses evolutionary relationships, while classification merely distinguishes between organisms on a general scale. You'll come to realize that this class particularly places a heavy emphasis on phylogenetic classification, which we can now define as grouping organisms by their evolutionary relationships. Now we can begin to talk about dichotomous keys. And if you haven't already worked with them, the most important thing to remember is that they focus primarily on visual identification. At each step of the key, you will be confronted with a couplet, and to proceed through the key, you must decide, between these two traits, which one best fits my specimen. If you are uncertain which one to choose, follow both branches until your answer becomes clear. And remember, when making dichotomous keys for your own use, make sure the distinguishing character states make sense to you, so you can follow your key when you look back at it. Some tips for constructing your own keys are included in your lab manual, but most notably, remember to start with the most general traits and end with your most specific traits. Also, be sure to not use ephemeral or transient characteristics that will change depending on time of year, climate, or other factors. Make sure your key is detailed enough to be able to identify the organisms, but simple enough to be easily understood. So, as biologists, we're all expected to adhere to a certain system of naming and classifying organisms. This system is as follows, from most general to most specific: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Each of these is considered a taxonomic rank. So when someone questions the taxonomic rank of Poaceae, you would respond, family. Organisms in this course will always fall under the domain eukaryotes and the kingdom plantae. Now take a ginkgo tree as our example in this case. The phylum would be Ginkgophyta, the class Ginkgopsida, the order Ginkgoales, the family Ginkgoaceae, and the genus Ginkgo, finally the species Biloba. If you're observant, you'll notice that phylum names will end in phyta, class names in Opsida, orders in Ales, families in Ace. These are fairly repetitive, and it'll help you in the long run for this course if you memorize them now. Finally, we're used to seeing things written in the binomial system, which consists of a genus name and a specific epithet. Now I can begin to discuss cladistics. To understand the way scientists refer to cladograms, a fair amount of vocabulary is required. Included in the description of this video are a number of terms along with their definitions, which should be helpful to review and understand this analysis. There are also three basic assumptions upon which the foundations of cladistics lie. These are really important, and you should take note of them for future reference. The first assumption is that any group of organisms is related by descent from a common ancestor. This is incredibly important for evolutionary biology because it means that all organisms at some point were once related. The second assumption is that there is a bifurcating pattern of evolution. This assumption perhaps is the most controversial, but is necessary all the less. The third is that change in characteristics occurs in lineages over time. And this is important for cladistics because traits do not arise at internodes. Now for your amusement, I've created a cladogram describing all of the departments here at ESF. Note that each branch termination is unique and that traits do not arise at internodes. Also, when a trait arises, it is then present in all following branches. For example, the chemistry, landscape architecture, and environmental resources engineering departments all exhibit cult-like behavior. Well, that's it. Hopefully you found this review informative and helpful, and I wish you the best of luck in your future studies. Have a good day!